Welcome back to another episode of the Book Trivia Podcast, where we dig up the juiciest behind-the-scene dirt on authors and spill the tea on the stories behind their stories. I'm Jess, otherwise known as the Chaos, and with me, as always, Rach, otherwise known as the Calm.
Hi, Jess. How are you?
Hi. If you're here for deep literary analysis and dense academic theory, you should probably switch off because here at BTP, we're all about the fun facts. Today, we're stepping through a wrinkle in space straight into one of the most beloved science fiction fantasy classics to ever land on a school reading list. That's right, if you haven't pieced it together yet, today we're getting into Madeleine L'Engle's A Wrinkle in Time, a mind-bending middle-grade adventure first published in 1962 after being rejected by possibly every publisher on the planet, only to go on to become an absolute staple of childhood bookshelves everywhere. But before we go tessering across the universe, let's warm things up with a quick round of general book trivia. Shall I go first? Rach.
Yes, hit me.
My first question for you, which famous book character lives at 221B Baker Street in London?
Not Danger Mouse. He does live on Baker Street, London, with Penfold.
No, but
that's in a post
I can give you a clue if you need it.
No, I know. It's either Sherlock Holmes or his friend, Dr. Watson.
It is
right?
Indeed Sherlock Holmes. You are
Sherlock
correct.
Holmes. Well done, me. Okay, question one for you, Jess. I've gone with a sci-fi theme today. So, Jess, my first question is, name the two books we've already done in past episodes where humans leave the Earth for outer space.
Well, the first one's Rendezvous with Rama.
Correct.
Arthur C. Clarke. What's the other one we've done?
Arthur is a good clue,
space?
Actually.
I mean, I'm thinking of the one you hated, which is Oryx and Crake, but they don't go into space. What?
It's a funny one.
Oh, of course. Douglas Adams' Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Correct.
Thank you very much.
Yes. So this is our third book where they leave the Earth.
They do.
Go into space.
I don't mind a bit of sci-fi. It's pretty good.
Mm.
My second question for you, Rach, totally themeless as usual. What does the J stand for in J.K. Rowling?
Is it Joanne or Joanna? I think it's Joanne.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
Yeah, it's correct.
Oh,
it's Joanne.
Oh, good. Okay, question two for you, Jess. Name this book. And I've got 6 clues, so jump in whenever you want. Number 1, frequently described as the best-selling science fiction novel in history. Number 2,
June?
It's also... Yes. I had 6 clues for you.
I literally just finished reading it for the first time about, 2 months ago, and I loved it. It's been on my to-be-read list in a million years. What were your other clues?
Oh, okay. So 2 is also described as a space opera.
Is it?
Would you say that? Yeah.
No.
Number 3, written in 1965. Number 4, a first edition of this book is one of the most valuable in science fiction book collecting.
Oh,
Number 5. Yeah.
How much is it worth?
A first edition of June. I don't have prices, but because it didn't have a very big print run, I don't think. I think the original publisher was a publisher of manuals for office furniture or something. Like it wasn't a book published. Yeah.
Maybe we should be doing June as a...
Yeah, maybe.
As an
but I've just given all the good trivia away. And then, 5 and 6. 5 was spawned a franchise and 6 was screen adaptations have starred Sting and Kylie Jenner's boyfriend. So that's Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah, Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah.
I haven't watched the adaptation, but I'm interested to watch it because it's quite it's a really good world building book. So it would be really interesting to see if what I was imagining in my mind is what they've adapted it to.
But which adaptation will you do? The modern one with Timothy?
Most recent one. Yeah, definitely the most recent one.
Oh, Sting was quite hot back in the day, so maybe you should move it.
All right, let's bring it back in with my final question for you. For becoming one of Japan's most celebrated novelists, which author spent years running a jazz bar in Tokyo?
No
I got a
idea.
clue.
Yeah, I'll need the clue.
He wrote Kafka on the Shore.
Oh, I know who you... I don't know that guy's name. I know who you mean, but I don't know his name. Sorry.
The initials are H and M. Okay, it's Haruki Murakami.
Yes, that I was.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you would get that. You know you.
I've seen his name lots of times, but I just can't commit it to memory. Probably because I've never read any of his books. Okay, my final question for you, Jess. Name the book about an astronaut trying to save humanity whilst alone on a spaceship, which has had a very recent screen adaptation.
Project Hail Mary. Also just read it not that long ago.
Wow.
Yeah. Literally read it for the first time this year because I'm a really big fan of Andy Weir and I loved The Martian, the book, and I loved the movie as well. So you must be in my brain at the moment. I'm having a sci-fi moment. Yeah.
On to this episode's featured book, which is A Wrinkle in Time by Madeleine L'Engle. This bit is also your spoiler warning, so if you haven't read it yet, we are going to be discussing the whole book, including the ending, so consider yourself warned. A Wrinkle in Time was published in 1962 and is set in New England in the USA in the 1960s. The book centres on 13-year-old Meg Murray, her 5-year-old brother, Charles Wallace Murray, and an older boy from Meg's school, Calvin O'Keefe. These three meet the Murray's neighbours, Mrs. Watts at Mrs. Who and Mrs. Which, who take them on a time and space journey to search for Meg's scientist father who has been missing for over a year. Jess, what's the first bit of trivia or fact that you want to share about this book?
I thought we might start off with how she actually came up with the idea. Rach, do you know how Madeleine L'Engle came up with the idea? Well, we will actually go into a little bit more detail about L'Engle's life in the next segment, but a bit of a spoiler alert is that she had just turned 40 and had actually been writing for years and was about to give up writing because she'd had so many years of rejection, not to mention financial stress. And she decided she'd go on a 10-week cross-country trip with her family. And she said that while she was out there somewhere in the American wilderness, driving through the mountains and deserts, the names Mrs. Watson, Mrs. Who and Mrs. Which just suddenly came to her out of nowhere, and she went on to complete the book within a year after that.
That's so cool. So just a change of scenery inspired her. Isn't that great?
I think everyone should go on a holiday. It sounds like everyone needs to go on a holiday.
I'd love to go on a holiday.
creative juices flowing.
So, Jess, was this the first time you've read it? And what did you think about it, the book?
Okay, it was the first time I had read this book, and I'm a bit scared to say this because I know that there's many, many people out there, and particularly if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably a big fan of the book. And trust me, I really wanted to love it because it's on all the must-read lists. It was actually my choice for this episode, and it's such a well-known YA book, but I'm sorry, it was just a bit of a meh for me. I don't know if it's because I'm really old and it's written for kids. I felt like it was a bit of a childish tone, and it was written in the 60s, like you said, so it felt a bit dated. But then, to be honest, I've also read other YA books that have stood the test of time, like The Giver I read not that long ago, and I loved that. I just felt like the characters were like pretty one-dimensional. I found them all really annoying, and I'm really sorry. I feel like I'm going to start another Lizzie from PMP Gate with this comment, but Meg in particular was annoying AF.
Oh, no.
I'm sorry. And then the plot, if you could even call it that, I just felt it was so silly. And not to mention, the main thing was I just felt there's no way a father would leave his kid on an alien planet. So I just thought the whole thing was a bit too far-fetched. What about you, Rach? Was it your first read? Did you like it?
Yeah, it was my first time. I absolutely love this book.
I knew it.
Yeah, we normally agree. It's unusual. I'm shocked that you didn't like it. I couldn't get a library copy for a while from the library, so I got the library audio version and I started listening. I couldn't stop. I was hooked.
Oh, why did I just not love it?
Maybe you just weren't in the right time.
Yeah.
So I think books need to come into your life when you're in the right
time
frame of mind to read them. But that opening scene in the kitchen with Charles Wallace acting like the world's best personal butler, and he's warming milk and offering sandwiches, and he's grabbing the tomato and saying, "All right, if I use this on Meg, mother." He's a fairy godmother trapped in a little boy's body. So it was so weird and I just loved it. I got hooked in. And I also loved that the book expects the reader to stretch themselves up to the book's level. The reader has to keep up with the book, which I think is such a lovely thing in a kid's book because a lot of them really dumb themselves down so that the kids can plod along. And
you think that's why I didn't like it, because I couldn't get up to that level?
Well, are you still a kid? Did you need help with some of the words? I had just read a really stupid book that didn't trust the reader to figure anything out for themselves. So to have a bit of intelligence was quite refreshing. So love, love, love from me.
Yeah, this is it. I was coming off a book hangover from a really good book. So that really probably put me in the wrong frame too. Now it's time to give you the lowdown about the woman behind the book. Madeleine L'Engle Camp was born in New York City in 1918. Her mum was a pianist and her dad was a writer, critic and foreign correspondent who'd suffered lung damage from mustard gas during World War I, which meant the family moved around a lot when she was young. Like pretty much every writer we've covered so far, she started young. Madeleine was writing stories by the time she was 5 and keeping a journal by 8. Weirdly, despite that, it said that some of her teachers branded her as stupid. Perhaps they got the wrong idea because she was shy and maybe a bit awkward, and when she couldn't please them, she just retreated into books and into her own imagination. To be honest, she kind of sounds like my spirit animal. But as mentioned, the family bounced around a lot, so she went through a lot of boarding schools, including a stint at one in Switzerland, before she eventually ended up at Smith College. And after graduating with an English degree, she went on to work as both an actress and a playwright, while she was at the same time still writing. While she was working on a stage production, she met her husband, an actor by the name of Hugh Franklin. They married in 1946 when she was 27, and they had their first daughter, Josephine, a year later. A few years after that, they all moved into a 200-year-old farmhouse called Crosswicks in a small town of Goshen, Connecticut. I wonder if it's anywhere near Stony Brook, hey? Which we'll be actually covering later this season, so stay tuned.
Bet you can't guess what book that's going to be. Connecticut. When A Wrinkle in Time was published in 1962, the book was an immediate critical and popular success. It won the Newbery Medal in 1963.
Actually, I've got a funny fact about the Newbery Medal, just stepping in there. Did you know that when she won it, L'Engle used her acceptance speech to go on an absolute rampage against conformity? Did you hear about this?
No. Did she?
In her acceptance speech, she said the forces working against individuality were trying to make muffins of us, muffins like every other muffin in the muffin tin. And as the great Lars Ulrich once said, nothing else matters.
No. Such a dad joke. I guess we know that she felt strongly about the book's material then. But getting back to the facts and away from the jokes, Wrinkle has actually never been out of print. So that's 64 years of being continuously in print, which is quite impressive. And interestingly, I think you mentioned this earlier, but it was written at a time of major upheaval in L'Engle's life because she and her husband had spent the previous decade raising a family and running a general store in rural Connecticut at Crosswicks, obviously. But at the point in time she started writing this book, they decided to leave Connecticut for New York City, and they'd taken that long road trip where Mrs. Watson popped into her head. And L'Engle and her 3 children, who were 7, 10 and 12 at the time, went back to Connecticut and lived apart from her husband for 3 months while he was setting up their new house in New York City. And those were the 3 months when the book was written. So that upheaval must have been a very fertile time for L'Engle's creativity.
Creative. Yeah.
Yeah. And a quick fact, you might have noticed that the dedication of this book is to Charles Wadsworth Camp and Wallace Cullen Franklin.
I did, yeah.
So Charles and Wallace.
Yep.
Anyway, those 2 men were L'Engle's father and father-in-law. So 2 men that she greatly admired. How lovely.
I love that. I do. Let's talk a little bit about what actually happened after she came up with that idea on the road trip. So you've mentioned that, obviously she was writing the book. But what's really interesting is the publication story is almost as wild as the book itself. So she obviously wrote it. Then the manuscript was rejected over and over again. We're talking at least 26 publishers. And the reasons were kind of all over the place. They said it was too different. Nobody could work out if it was a children's book or an adult's book. And actually, L'Engle herself later pointed to the fact that it had a female protagonist in a science fiction novel, which at the time was basically unheard of. Yeah, girl. Thank you. I love that she actually did that. But also, the book's working title during the rejection period was literally Mrs. Whatsit and Mrs. Who and Mrs. Which. So that probably didn't help endear it to publishers either. Like, that's a very odd name to call a book. The story goes, her agent, Theron Rains, was so appalled by the rejections that he'd annotate the letters before passing them on to her. He wrote things like, "Sorry as usual," and "I may cancel your subscription to their bum magazine." But eventually he gave up and just handed the manuscript back to her, which kind of sucked. And then, this is the bit I love. She threw a Christmas tea party for her mum, just a regular tea party, and one of the guests happened to know a publisher by the name of J.C. Farrar of Farrar, Straus and Giroux, and told Madeleine she should go and meet him, which she did. Farrar didn't even have a children's book line at the time. He just read it, he liked it, and he published it anyway. And the rest is history.
So I found similar facts when I was researching, and definitely Madeleine was told to change the book to make it more accessible to child readers, and she almost did. She almost conformed, but she didn't end up doing it. And as you mentioned, John Farrar took a chance because he'd liked her first book that he'd read many years ago. And when he was given the manuscript, he did like it, but he sent it to an outside reader that he used to use to test books. And the outside reader sent it back to him with a note saying, "I think this is the worst book I've ever read. It reminds me of The Wizard of Oz." And that's the comment that convinced him that he had that he had to publish. Yeah. It actually reminds me of The Wizard of Oz.
A very famous book that actually was very, very popular. So,
yeah, but The Wizard of Oz doesn't really fit into any book category either.
Genre.
It's similar. It's not children. It's not adult. What is it? It's odd. And same with Wrinkle. So that's the comment that can convince them that he should publish. I have a little fact here for you, Jess. Did you know that the title of this book, the amazing title, A Wrinkle in Time, that was a last-minute change. So when the manuscript was being shopped around and rejected, as you said, the title then was Mrs. Whatsit, Mrs. Who and Mrs. Which. But at some point during the editing process, it was renamed A Wrinkle in Time, and L'Engle actually credits her mother for coming up with that title. So there's a bit of trivia for you. Yeah.
Oh, I do love that. That's awesome.
So, Jess, let's talk themes. The themes are pretty simple in this book. They're very good versus evil, individuality versus conformity, the knowledge that your flaws can sometimes mean strengths, and the power of love. I personally was more interested in the choice of having a sci-fi book feature an ugly duckling 13-year-old girl as the main character who has to do the heroic rescue at the end. Plus, the scientist mum who works from home and has a laboratory, I don't know how we say that, and sneakily cooks stew on Bunsen burners in the lab. I mean, examples of books like this would have been pretty thin on the ground back in 1962. So groundbreaking, I guess. Also, the three Gandalf-style guide figures being three old hags who literally quote the witch's lines from Macbeth when they're first introduced in the book.
That's right. Yeah.
They say, "When will we three meet again?" That's so inspiring to me as someone that thinks, how did feminism start rolling through the culture? This is feminism 60 years ago. Total sidebar. Speaking of Macbeth and Shakespeare, I know you love when I crowbar in some ancient Greek or some Shakespeare.
Well, I live for it.
I haven't done it for a while, but in addition to that Macbeth reference, the book had both ancient Greek and Shakespeare, both in one book. So there's a lot of mention of Euclid, and he was the ancient Greek father of geometry, and his geometry is still taught today. So he's been dominating mathematics for 2,000 plus years. There's a Seneca quote.
With Pythagoras?
He probably was. I mean, they all knocked around together, didn't they? In the Mediterranean.
Social friends?
Yeah, he's a parasocial friend of the pod. In addition to Euclid, there's also a Seneca quote from Mrs. Who, but she quotes Seneca in Latin, not Greek. What? Weird. And finally, the hint that Mrs. Who gives Calvin is from Shakespeare's The Tempest, Act 1, Scene 2. So when they get to Camazotz and she gives him that hint, the passage she gives to Calvin is specifically about Ariel, who in the play is imprisoned in a tree by a witch, which is also weirdly how Merlin dies in some versions of the Camelot stories, not Camazotz.
Yeah.
So
right.
Enough of that sidebar. I do
That
have
surely
some
was
trivia.
intentional. It's got to be
I
intentional.
don't know. I'm not sure. But I do have some trivia here for you. I'm back off my sidebar now. Speaking of finding the book inspirational, did you know, Jess, that in 2016, Chelsea Clinton was making a speech to a Democratic Party convention. And during the speech, she mentioned how much she had loved this book as a child. She used to sit at the dinner table and discuss it with her parents and what the themes meant. And just that mention from Chelsea in that speech was enough to shoot the book into Amazon's bestseller list. It climbed 300 places within a couple of days of her speech. How cool.
I think we need to get Chelsea Clinton to mention book trivia podcast.
I know. We want to climb 300 places into the bestsellers.
Very cool. Okay, you talk themes. Now let's talk a bit about the characters. Did you know, Rach, that L'Engle basically just wrote herself as the main character? It's very well known that the whole Murray family was modelled on her own, but Meg specifically, that's Madeleine as she saw herself growing up as a kid. She described herself as gangly, awkward, and a bad student, and she was constantly unhappy with how she looked. In fact, sources say she used the words perpetually unkempt when she described herself, which is a bit sad. I'm sure you weren't perpetually unkempt. She once said that she was not an intellectual, I'm instinctual, and yet her actual grade card was almost all A's and B's. So I feel like she maybe just was a bit down on herself, which is hard when you're young. The only subject that she had failed was German. So, I mean, you're doing all right, which is very on brand for someone who wrote a character that everyone underestimates. There's also a story about her entering a poetry contest at school and she won it, but her teachers didn't believe she'd written it. They thought a child that they decided was stupid couldn't possibly have written a prize-winning poem. How sad is that?
That's really sad. You want your
apparently
teachers
her
to
mum-
believe in you, not think that you're a liar.
No wonder she had this confidence problem. Apparently her mum had to march into the school the next day carrying an actual stack of Madeleine's stories and poems just to prove to the teachers that she wrote it. So good on her mum. It sounds like her mum was quite a good force in her life. In any case, I guess you could say it's poetic justice that L'Engle went on to write a best-selling novel around Meg, the girl everyone wrote off who turned out to be the one that saved the day.
Yes, definitely. So since we're talking characters, I want to talk favourite characters. Now, I loved all the characters in this book, but I didn't feel like we got to know Mrs. Who and Mrs. Witch very well, but we did get to know Mrs. Whatsit a little bit better, and I loved Mrs. Whatsit. I loved her funny clothes and her voice like an unoiled gate, but somehow not unpleasant. Isn't that a great piece of writing? And when you first meet her, she's getting Mrs. Murray to pull her boots off, and she bruises her dignity. I loved that. That's so funny. She's just immediately such a great character. Then later, when she gets told off for asking the happy medium to show Meg and Calvin their mothers before they head off to Camazotz, because she's the youngest and she makes mistakes all the time, that really made her vulnerable or relatable. So she's just such a great... Yeah, she's a great creation. There's a weird piece of trivia here. The audio version had that scene, but the book version I got from the library later didn't have that scene where the happy medium shows Meg and Calvin their mum. Did you have it in your version?
I'm trying to think back, but yes, I think it was in mine. So maybe
I was checking my book and it didn't say abridged or anything. So I was wondering if they accidentally left a bit out.
Some proofreader didn't do their proofing properly. I was too busy watching Netflix.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it seems deliberately edited out. But Jess, did you have any favourite characters?
Well, as I said, I didn't really love any of the characters. This is so bad. We're like the complete opposite this time.
Yeah.
But I guess if I had to choose someone, I'd choose Calvin. I liked how he was very kind to Meg, and I thought his backstory was nice. Well, not nice for him, but it was an interesting little sidebar that he came from a big family and he didn't get much attention.
Trust You to relate to him.
Coming from a big family. But I also really liked Mrs. Beast too. Her presence seemed very calming and lovely, and I feel like everyone needs a Mrs. Beast in their life.
An Auntie Beast, maternal. Yeah.
But Meg was the worst, and maybe also her dad. I'm sorry. I know I'm going to get so much flack, but I just... Meg came off very annoying, and the dad, particularly what I didn't like was that I just don't believe a dad would leave his kid on an alien planet to fend for themselves no matter what. I think that they would stay back. And then you're going to hate me so much, but in terms of the missuses, I didn't really care about any of them at all. I just thought they were all big weirdos.
Oh, Jess, you're breaking my heart. Here's a little piece of trivia for you, Jess. During the writing of this book, L'Engle changed Mrs. Watts's age from 219 trillion something years to 2 billion and something years because, according to Isaac Asimov, the universe is only 5 or 6 billion years old. Remember Isaac Asimov, Jess? We talked about his laws when we did Rendezvous with Rama. And here he is popping up again. If he pops up one more time, he'll officially be deemed parasocial friend of the pod.
We might have to do foundations or something for one of the podcasts. Get him in there, get him properly involved instead of parasocial. Okay, now let's address the big elephant in the room, and that is that you can't really talk about this book without mentioning all the references to religion. This is because L'Engle was a devout Christian, and so she basically baked Christian themes throughout the whole book. For example, the light versus the dark, the love conquering evil, the whole cosmology of the thing. But here's where it gets interesting. She wasn't your standard issue Christian. She was a universalist. Do you know what a universalist is, right?
I don't know.
I had to look it up too. It basically means she believed everyone would eventually be saved, not just Christians, which I think is nice. I didn't realize that Christians only believe Christians will get saved.
Neither did I.
Yeah. Even though her books were very popular, they also were actually banned as well. And the funny thing is that they were banned by evangelical schools because they took the whole mixing of science, mythology, and Christianity as her saying that all belief systems lead to God equally, which they found threatening. And then on the flip side, the secular critics were coming at her for being too religious. So she couldn't please either side.
Couldn't win.
And then still on her actual Christianity, she's often compared to C.S. Lewis for the whole Christian themes hidden inside a fantasy story. Example, Aslan in The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. But Rach, did you know she actually wrote the foreword for C.S. Lewis's book A Grief Observed?
I did not know that. I can't imagine them being alive in the same time period, but they would have been, of course.
Yeah.
Because he was publishing in the 1950s.
And A Grief Observed is actually Lewis's memoir about losing his wife. And when she wrote the foreword, she connected with it because she'd lost her own husband too by that stage. But when someone asked her about the comparison, she said, the main difference is that C.S. Lewis has more answers and I have more questions. And weirdly, she didn't even think that she was writing religion into her books deliberately anyway. Her exact words were, I live in a world where I believe it is started by God, so his presence is always there. So she wasn't trying to write a Christian book. It just came out that way because that's how she saw the world.
Interesting. So, Jess, it's that time of the episode where I get to ask you some stupid questions. So, question 1, would you rather be a genius but thought of as a moron, or would you rather be a moron but be thought of as a genius?
So how big is my personal ego?
I don't know.
I think I'd rather everyone think I'm a genius and be a moron.
Okay, Trump. Question 2, would you rather...
Wait, hang on. You've got to answer it too.
I would rather be a genius, be thought of as a moron.
And you want everyone to think you're a moron. Okay.
Yeah, because I'm still a genius. Okay, question 2. Would you rather have no eyes and be covered in fur and tentacles but be comfortable? Or would you rather have eyes but you have to wear glasses that slip down your nose constantly and you're pushing them up all the time?
I can't imagine a life without being able to see. So I think I'm going with option B. But I do like the idea of feeling very comfortable all the time.
Yeah.
What about you?
I think I'll go for the fur and tentacles. I don't like pushing glasses up my nose all the time.
But imagine if you couldn't see. So you wouldn't care you couldn't see.
No. I think it'll be fine. I'd be Auntie Beast. It'll be fine. Okay.
The wheels are falling off this podcast. We are totally not agreeing on anything.
I know. Okay, question 3. Would you rather have Mrs. Who as the only person you can ever talk to, but she only communicates in quotes and never speaks directly? Or would you rather be named Charles Wallace and you have to introduce yourself by that full name, both names, every single time for the rest of your life?
Can't cut Charles Wallace. I'm Charles Wallace. Or talking in quotes. I think I'm going Charles Wallace.
Really?
Yeah.
Hi,
I don't think I know
Wallace.
enough quotes to be able to talk in quotes. To get
I don't know. Like, she's the only person you ever talk to. So you talk normally, and then she just comes back with.
No, I still think I'm going to go Charles Wallace. That's too much of a riddle for me. What about you?
Yeah, I don't think I could handle only talking to one person for the rest of my life, especially if they only come back with quotes. So yes, I guess we're both Charles Wallace forever and ever. And final question, this is more of a serious one and it's from the book, but would you rather fit in by being completely the same as everyone else, or would you rather stick out as very different by being a complete freak?
Well, I feel I am a bit of a freak anyway, so I'm quite happy to stick with my weirdo-ness. I'm quite comfortable in my weirdness.
Let your freak flag fly.
For sure. Freaks unite.
Hashtag freaks
I'm sure
united.
there's more of us out there as well. So everyone get on board the freak train.
Toot toot.
Let's start off segment 3 with some weird fun facts. The one I've got here isn't strictly about the book, but I think it is a really lovely little fact about the woman herself, Madeleine. In the mid-1950s, while the L'Engle family were living out of the farmhouse, some friends of theirs tragically passed away, leaving behind a 7-year-old daughter named Maria. And I don't know if you know this, Rach, but Madeleine and Hugh just took her in and adopted her as their own. So on top of already having 2 kids, running a general store and writing a novel, they also adopted this young orphan. Pretty nice, huh?
Yeah, they're obviously very good people. Better than me.
If it was a doggy, you would have
Yes,
a little pupper.
If it was a dog, for sure. Now, Jess, here's a funny piece of trivia for you. L'Engle's church minister actually advised her to read German theologians, but when she tried, she found it so boring, she just kept falling asleep. So instead, she thought, oh, I'm going to read the works of physicists. So she started reading.
Much more interesting.
Well, to her it was. So she was reading Albert Einstein, Max Planck, and Werner Heisenberg, and they're all Nobel Prize winners in physics. And that's where part of the inspiration for her writing comes from. She developed an understanding and reverence for the laws of the universe from reading these
That's
Nobel.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. So here's a fact. Did you know that you can now research tesseracts on the internet, and there are little videos which try to break down and explain the concept to you?
I did not know this.
Yeah, so I did watch the video. It made no sense to me. The only thing that made sense was that example in the book with the skirt and the insect, and my brain
actually illustrate it.
Yeah, my brain could grasp that. Like, if you bring the 2 sides of the skirt together, the insect doesn't have to crawl the whole way across the skirt. But yeah, the Tesseract videos on YouTube, no, can't understand.
Before I read this book, I just thought the Tesseract was something in a Marvel film. So I don't know if you've seen like the Iron Mans, and they have this Tesseract that everyone's trying to get. So yeah, that's what I know.
Yeah, it is a real mathematical concept. So it's funny how it gets into these pop culture books.
Love it. And another completely obscure fact for you, Rach. Did you know that none of the planet names in this book are made up?
Really?
Yeah. So they sound like classic sci-fi gibberish, but they're all actually pulled from real mythology and religion. So Camazotz, that creepy conformist conformist planet where IT lives is actually the name of a Mayan bat god. Ixchel, the planet where Aunt Beast lives, is a Mayan jaguar goddess of medicine. Uriel, the first planet they visit with the centaur creatures, is not a urinary tract infection. It is, in fact, a Hebrew archangel. And the star that Uriel orbits is called Malak, which means angel in Hebrew. So for someone who claims she wasn't thinking about religion at all when she was writing the book, it's pretty funny that every location in this intergalactic adventure is named after a god or an angel. I like it.
Yeah, she's obviously got religion on the brain.
Yeah, along with the science. As always, we like to round out our book facts with a look at any adaptations. And for A Wrinkle in Time, there have actually been 2 films, both released by Disney. One was in 2003 and one in 2018. I watched the 2018 one. It's, I'm not sure how I felt about it, honestly. They had some big names in the cast: Oprah, Reese Witherspoon, Mindy Kaling as the Missuses. And the Meg that they cast, Storm Reid, she was beautiful and she played the role really well. But I kind of thought she was too beautiful and too elegant to be cast as awkward Meg. Like, she has this gorgeous skin and hair and this quiet confidence about her that I just didn't get from the Meg that I was reading in the book, I felt. Also, they pretty much changed the entire storyline. In this adaptation, Charles Wallace is adopted. Maybe they thought that it would make it more believable that the dad would leave him behind with IT. Plus, you know the bit...
You're so hung up on the dad leaving him behind.
Because I just don't believe it. And you know the bit in the book where Mrs. Watson transforms into a marble Pegasus-y type horse? Or at least that was what I was imagining when I was reading it. In the film, she turns into this weird flying lettuce thing. I don't know. Like, it's not a horse. And they cut out Aunt Beast entirely. And I loved Aunt Beast.
Sacrilege.
So anyway, yeah. Did you end up watching either of them, Rach? Or you
I looked up the copy of the Reese Witherspoon one that you're talking about, and by the kitchen scene with Charles Wallace, which is, I think, the second scene of the movie.
Very stunning movie.
I was like, this movie is terrible. It was Chris Pine was saccharine sweet right at the beginning before he goes away, and then Reese Witherspoon comes in, and I love Reese Witherspoon, but she is not.
She's
Mrs.
awful.
Watson.
She's so mean. She's actually really mean in the movie.
Yeah. So as soon as she walked in and was being super quirky as Mrs. Watson, I actually turned it off and went, I don't want my memory of the book ruined by this Disney.
And Mrs. Watson in the book is this tiny little old lady wrapped up in sheets, not a beautiful, ethereal Reese Witherspoon
with red hair.
Being a bit rude.
Being quirky and rude. No. So I turned it off because I thought, no, I think you did
a good thing there. I wish I had turned it off. Anyway, shall we swap some facts about it?
Yes, we shall.
Yeah, I'll start.
You start.
So did you know that Oprah Winfrey actually got her role on the spot, no audition required? She was texting director Ava DuVernay one day, and DuVernay mentioned she was developing the adaptation and asked if she wanted to be involved, and Oprah just said, no problem, done deal. So she got the role on the spot.
Oh, that's comes from being Oprah Winfrey, I'd say. Everyone else would have had to audition. So Oprah is actually the only cast member who was alive when the book was first published back in 1962. Everybody else had yet to be born.
How old was she in 1962?
Oprah? Oh, I don't know. She would have been a little girl, I'd say.
She probably loved the book. That's also why she would have said yes straight off the bat.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know how Mrs. Who in the book is always speaking in quotes and attributing them by last name and country?
Yeah.
Well, the film keeps that going but adds some pop culture references too. So near the end, when the Mrs. are saying goodbye to the children, Mrs. Who says, tomorrow there'll be more of us, Miranda, American, which is actually a nod to Lin-Manuel Miranda's Broadway musical Hamilton from a song called The Story of Tonight. Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, that is quite cool.
I love Hamilton.
I've been meaning to get into Hamilton for years.
Start with the soundtrack. Just listen to the soundtrack and then you'll want to go and see the actual stage play. I saw it when I was in Sydney. It was really good.
Oh, okay. Last fact from me, the cast and crew spent 2 weeks filming in New Zealand. And while they were there, the indigenous Maori people welcomed them with a traditional awhiri and a karakia. The cast and crew absolutely loved it, and they talked about New Zealand a lot throughout the shoot. So that's
I
nice.
didn't know it was filmed in New Zealand. That's nice.
Yeah, 2 weeks doesn't seem long to be in New Zealand.
Yeah.
A lot of the Rings cast were there for years.
They probably all bought houses there.
Well, yeah, to be fair, they did make 3 films there, 3 massive films.
True.
All right. Did you know that this book has had another quite recent impact on culture? In 2005, the 5th and final season of the Netflix show Stranger Things, the creators of which are identical twins the internet calls the Duffer Brothers, used A Wrinkle in Time as a plot point. So
I did not know that.
Yeah, the character of Holly, who is a little girl, she's reading the book with her class at school, and then a Mr. Watson character appears and strange things begin to happen. So the creators, the Duffer Brothers, have said that they picked that book because they read it and loved it when they were about the same age as the Holly character. And the other books they were considering, it was one other book, The Polar Express, that was too young for a kid of Holly's age to be reading at school. So it's still having an impact today, and probably that Netflix show inspired a few more kids to read it via
It would have been
Stranger
cool,
Things.
though, if they'd gone with the Polar Express and had like a massive choo-choo train coming through in the underworld.
Yeah, it would have been cool, but they went with A Wrinkle in Time. Although maybe the most fictional part of that whole Netflix thing is that a school would have this book on their syllabus, because it's actually been one of the most contested and challenged books. As you said earlier, Jess, the right-wing Christians think it's too in favour of witchcraft and the other camps think it's far too Christian. So L'Engle was obviously trying to find a happy medium.
Yeah.
But she managed to locate the happiest sadists instead. Okay, let's start wrapping up this episode with a quick round of true or false. I'm going to start us off. So, Jess, true or false? Madeleine L'Engle invented electric bicycles.
Just laughing because that's such an odd thing, but I'm going to say no. False?
Yes, it's false. There were people inventing versions as early as 1895. I thought it was really cool how the paperboy in Camazotz had an electric style bike. So maybe she helped inspire the later versions that are happening these days.
I was wondering where that was going. What does it have to do with, what does she have to do with the electric bikes?
Because of the electric bike in the book.
No, I get it now. Thank you for explaining. All right. True or false for you, Rach? Madeleine L'Engle was named after her grandmother.
Oh, true.
False.
Oh.
She was named after her great-grandmother, Madeleine Margaret L'Engle, otherwise known as Mado. And speaking of her name, Rach, do you love how she kept her last name L'Engle instead of taking her husband's last name?
I do. It's a pretty cool last name because you look at it and think, how do you say that?
Yes, and I just love it too because I'm all for keeping your last name. I tried to look up why that was and I couldn't find anything concrete. What we do know from the sources is that L'Engle was already publishing under her own name before she even met Hugh. Her first 2 novels came out in 1942 before they married in 1946. So the most likely explanation is simply that she already had established herself as a writer under that name and didn't want to lose that identity. But
yeah, that's what I would have guessed. Jess, the twins, Sandy and Dennis, are represented as the normal ones, but one of them actually does a clever bit of foreshadowing at the start of the book whilst they are eating the French toast for breakfast. True or false?
I'm assuming it's true unless you're trying to trick me.
It is true. Sandy tells Meg to use a happy medium at breakfast.
Of course.
And then she actually does do that later. So perhaps there's more to those twins than we think.
Well, you may find that out in number 2 and number 3, but I'm definitely not reading number 2 or number 3, so I'll never know.
Well, I've decided they grow up to run a popular Netflix show, so.
Yeah. All right, for you, Rach, true or false? While living at the farmhouse in Connecticut, L'Engle served as the choir director at her local church.
True.
It is true. It was the local congregational church in Goshen.
There you go. So my final true or false for you, Jess. Meg's father wears horn-rimmed glasses, and the name horn rim relates to the shape of the glasses forming a horn shape on both sides of the eyes.
Well, that's true, isn't it? That's what I've always thought it was.
That's what I thought it was too, but I checked it and it's false. So back in the 1960s, horn-rimmed glasses were actually made of animal horn or real tortoise shell, but they're mostly made of plastic now.
And they're still called horn-rimmed. I like that. All right. My last true or false for you, Rachy Rach. In 2013, a crater on Mercury was named after L'Engle. True or false?
I hope so. I want it to be true. So true.
You are correct. It is true. So the crater is 62 kilometres wide near the south pole of Mercury, and its floor sits in permanent shadow. It never sees light. It's one of the few craters in the solar system named after a woman, and Mercury craters are specifically reserved for writers, artists, and musicians. So she's up there with some pretty good company. And guess who the opposite pole was named after?
Opposite pole.
Think writers, artists, and musicians.
Oh, gosh. Douglas Adams?
Tolkien.
Ah!
Douglas Adams, that's cool.
Well, no, I was thinking because on previous podcasts we've said that Arthur C. Clarke has space.
An asteroid, yeah.
Named after him, and Douglas Adams has had stuff in space named after him.
Yes, that's right. So, was it an asteroid or maybe it was a crater as well?
We need to check back. We need to check our own trivia shows. But yeah, this is definitely our third author that has something named after them in space.
Pretty cool. Actually, speaking of space, Rach, my final short facts is a really lovely story to end on, and it features space. In 1966, a girl named Janice Voss read A Wrinkle in Time as a sixth grader, and it inspired her so much that she went on to become a NASA astronaut. When L'Engle found out about this, she sent Voss a signed copy of the book to take up on her next mission, and on July 1st, 1997, Janice Voss took A Wrinkle in Time aboard the Space Shuttle Columbia and actually sat there and read it while looking out into space. Then when she landed, she sent it back to L'Engle to keep. So a book that was rejected by 26 publishers because nobody could work out whether it was sci-fi or something else actually ended up in orbit around the Earth. Not bad.
That's so amazing.
Yeah.
And
really
you
good.
can see how it's really inspired people. She says that inspired her to become an astronaut.
Yeah.
Great.
Maybe she went and visited the L'Engle crater as well.
Maybe. My final short fact is, did you know that L'Engle attended Smith College with Betty Friedan, who wrote The Feminine Mystique? She was a classmate. And just guess who else went to Smith College?
Oprah.
Not sure. I was actually going to say Connecticut parasocial friend of the pod, Anne M. Martins.
Good.
Okay, so what did you think of the ending of the book, Jess?
To be honest, that's part of the reason why I didn't really love the book. I thought the ending just sort of fizzled out. So yes, we get our technical happily ever after because she saves Charles Wallace and comes home for dinner. But the whole reason her dad was missing in the first place was because he was investigating the shadow over the Earth, and that never gets resolved. So it felt just a bit unfinished to me. Obviously, she's gone on to write a whole series, so maybe that was always the plan. But given how long she was rejected for, I do wonder whether the ending was partly shaped by the pressure to just get the whole thing published. I don't know if that's true, but it would explain a lot. And just wasn't compelling enough for me to want to read another book in the series anyway. But again, maybe if I'd read it when I was a kid, I would have had a different reaction. One thing I do love, though, is that Meg saved the day. And for a female hero to be focused on in the 1960s, that was pretty ahead of its time. So I'll give you that, L'Engle. What about you, Rach? What did you think of the ending?
I loved it. I loved the same as you. I love that Meg was the one that had to rescue her father and rescue Charles, and she used all of her faults and was scared the whole time, but still managed to do it. That's such a great thing to put in a book for little girls to read. And it was such a lovely homecoming when they appear back in the veggie patch in the garden. Yeah. I was actually hoping the kitten would magically be miles bigger or something, just to, you know how time hasn't passed on Earth? I wanted there to be a little twist. Mrs. Watson and Co. just kind of leave abruptly. So it does end abruptly, but I had such a lovely adventure that I didn't really mind. But you said the dad was investigating the dark shadow. I thought he was just investigating tesseracts and how to do wrinkles in time, and
I thought he was there to try and fix the shadow.
And I thought they were just doing time jumps as scientists, but yeah, maybe.
Either way, if you never read another one of the books, you're never going to know what happens with the big shadow. So
that's true, and I probably will never read another one. There's so many books and so little time.
So little time, exactly. All right, and then on that note, I hate to say goodbye, but we have to leave Camazotz there for today. Before we wrap up though, Rach, do you want to give everyone a little teaser of what we're tackling next time?
Yes, we are going to learn about the Fibonacci sequence while we run around Europe solving clues. What's your teaser, Jess?
Similar. We're trading the darkness of IT for the streets of Paris, where a Harvard symbologist gets pulled into a conspiracy that goes all the way back to the earliest days of Christianity. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you so much for listening. And if you like this episode, please like and subscribe. And only if you liked it, rate and review our podcast on whichever podcasting app you use. Or better still, tell a friend to listen and send it to them on their phone. Hi, Roxy. For more book trivia, find us at booktrivia.com, and you can also find us on Reddit, YouTube and Substack, where we are Book Trivia Podcast. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Welcome to the Book Trivia Podcast, where we give you book facts and we'll have a laugh. If you're a book lover with a thirst to know, then make sure you subscribe to this show. Our names are Rach and Jess, and we'll put your book knowledge to the test. We may not be a highbrow show, but you're still